Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love. Here with episode number 49 of Sports Overview Topics. Hope everyone's being safe and enjoying themselves and had a good weekend here on this Tuesday now. So, the NBA play-in tournament is now over. The NBA playoffs are now on their way. So, good. Actually, every game or every series, had one game underneath its belt already. And some series last night, the Miami Heat and Milwaukee Bucks, as well as the Denver Nuggets and Portland Trailblazers, all those series had had their second game last night. So there's that. But nonetheless, today will be mostly about basketball, NBA playoffs. If you're new to the podcast, like and subscribe. Click on the bell. Thank you all. I'll talk about the Boston Red Sox as well as going over a little bit about the fights that happened on Saturday night. But nonetheless, let's kick you off with this. So, the NBA play-in tournament was very critiqued, I would say, last week. Now, it was down to going into it many suspect opinions because of its format and after a long season where it would be the 7 to 10 seeds of each conference that would have to play in to keep their spot for the playoffs or play in to get a spot at the playoffs. But it was 50-50 the the what part of the play-in tournament was very well with the Spurs and the Grizzlies, the Lakers and the Warriors, and the Grizzlies and the Warriors ultimately. Whereas on the East Conference side of things, he had the Celtics and the Wizards. He had, the Hornets and the Pacers, which looked ultimately suspect after the Hornets fell from 8 to 10 and Gordon Hayward still had not returned. So 50-50 how you take it. But nonetheless, I thought it was decent to play a tournament. Based on both sides, the West obviously looked much better than the Eastern games, but it was a sort of success, I would say. And nothing really big happened. Um, Although the Grizzlies, who were the ninth seed, played in and leapfrogged the Warriors, who were the eighth seed, and they got into the playoffs. But other than that, it was kind of how you expected. Now the NBA playoffs are the way. All the series have gone underway with And pretty much every or almost every series has a dynamic story leading into it. What I mean by that is, so for starters, you got the Wizards against the number one seed Philadelphia 76ers. You got the Joel Embiid versus Russell Westbrook dynamic. Those going back. You got the Nets and the Celtics. Kyrie's versus former team. Can the big three stay healthy? Of the Nets is the biggest question of this NBA playoffs. Then you got the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Miami Heat, a rematch of last year and the bubble, in which the Miami Heat cleaned out the Milwaukee Bucks 4-1 in the series. Now, 2 games under the series, you got the Milwaukee Bucks now 2-0 in the series. And then last but certainly not least, as far as the East side of things, you got the 4th seed New York Knicks, who haven't been in the playoffs since 2013, against the Atlanta Hawks. A very interesting series in which kicked off with a bang when the Knicks narrowly lost to the Hawks, as Trae Young had showed he had ice in his veins and really captivated. So then you got the West. You got the Utah Jazz, who have looked very good among their. And you look up and down their lineup, it's hard to find a flaw. But Donovan Mitchell, he hasn't been healthy, in which that kind of showed cheeks in their armor against the Grizzlies in their first game. Then you also have the Phoenix Suns, who have done really well. Really well. My pick out of the West. But Suns have done really well, but not been in the playoffs since 2010. Facing a Laker team that is all the defending champions, and their chemistry has been on and off all season, pretty much, due to the injuries of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. But yeah, it's not been the same Laker team. And the Suns, although Chris Paul, he was banged up in the first game and still managed to play a little bit, will be something to keep an eye on in the series versus the Lakers the rest of the way. Then you have the MVP of the league, presumably Nikola Jokic, versus Damian Lillard and a part of the Trailblazers. Heck of 2 games so far. Heck of 2 games so far. Now, question is, how far can the Nuggets go without Jamal Murray is the question. Because with Jamal Murray, they're kind of the picks to basically win the West. But now without Murray, how far can they go? And then also you got the Clippers versus the Mavericks. Luka versus Kawhi. Another rematch of last season, the bubble. Can Porzingis stay healthy? I think is the primary question. Because when Luka powered that team for a set, and then the Clippers took over, I obviously have questions about the Clippers, but the question will be is Porzingis' health throughout the series. So, must have lost my paper, so I have to make a new one. But you'll see here the authentic picks now for the NBA playoffs. At least my picks. So, get this underway quickly. So, I'll go over these side first because now the playoffs are set. Now is what I see. So, 76ers versus the Wizards. So, as I mentioned, that first game on Saturday, it was won, but it was close the majority of the way, but the 76ers pulled away, and if I have to say, you know, Westbrook has broken records after a sluggish start for the Wizards. Bradley Beal, I like him, but I just think this other animal with the 76ers under Doc Rivers. Maybe the the Wizards can win a game, but I got the 76ers. So then 2 for 7, the Nets versus the Celtics. I love the Celtics, but with the Celtics are limited, and the Nets with Kyrie, Harden all back, and KD, it's just hard to pick against the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm going with the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe 5. We'll see. Then the Bucks versus the Heat. The Heat are now down 0-2. Can they come back? Yes. I predict them originally to win this series, but what I've been seeing from the Bucks is a level of toughness and the way it is now. I'm going with the Milwaukee Bucks. So then, got the Knicks versus the Hawks. It was arguably the best game of the first round, or arguably the first the best game of the first weekend. There you go. The best first game of the first round series. With the Hawks and Trae Young powering it through. And I'm still staying on the New York Knicks. Somehow they pull it out. Although they're battling adversity now. If they can just make some tweaks, then perhaps they pull it through for the rest of the way. So go with the Knicks. Pretty simple. Now, the Western side. First, the Jazz versus the Grizzlies. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies pulled the upset the other day over the number one seed Utah Jazz. Without Donovan Mitchell again, he tried in the pregame to bust it out, but they didn't like what they saw, so they decided to wait a little bit more to keep him rested. And Bogdanovich did everything he could to try to pull him back in that game. 0 points the first half, 26 in the second half. Just missing those two shots at the end that probably would have won the game. But the Grizzlies cannot be taken lightly. Dylan Brooks is a dog. John Morant is turning into a young star in this league, which you love to see. And Valanciunas, he impressed me that game versus the Jazz. So I still think the Jazz pull it out, but I won't be surprised if we see 7 games or between the two. So yeah. Now the Suns versus the Lakers. The Suns currently up a game. Now they'll play game 2 later tonight, which should be interesting. The Phoenix Suns, so question is, how healthy is Chris Paul and Devin Booker? Can he keep up his pace as well as DeAndre Ayton? If that's the case, it's going to be hard for the Lakers. They are going to give the Lakers a tough outing, nonetheless. And Anthony Davis, he is, since the play-in tournament, he has felt sluggish, very sluggish. Whether it be against the Warriors, or excuse me, it was the Warriors. I was thinking about them having played the Grizzlies, but against the Warriors and now against the Suns, they feel sluggish. And I'm staying with the Suns. I'm staying with the Phoenix Suns to get past the Lakers in 6. Now we got the Nuggets versus the Trailblazers. Knotted up at one apiece. Now, the Trailblazers took game one and convincing, but you knew the Nuggets were going to come out with a bang the second game, and thus they did. They took control. It was a feisty game, what a playoff game should be. Jokic had a hell of a game, 38 points. Gordon contributed. Excuse me. And Michael Porter Jr. as well, which you like to see. I still think the Nuggets power through, so Nuggets take it, I would say 6. Then last but not least, the Clippers and the Mavericks. The Mavericks took game one in good fashion. If everyone stays healthy, then I got the Mavericks in 5. So, very interesting to see. So, those are my first round predictions for the series. But, yeah, we'll see. So, interesting playoffs the rest of the way. Tonight, we got Celtics, the Nets game 2. I mentioned the Suns and Lakers, as well as the Mavericks and the Clippers. So, interesting stuff. Also, I want to talk about the pivot from that to the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox, the rejuvenation they've had since getting their coach back since they won the World Series over the Dodgers, adding some pieces. Look out, this team is now. Credit, they're so a ways away in the season, but I mean, they lost last night, but 4-game win streak prior to that. They are half a game out of first in their division right now, but they look right now like the best team in the MLB right now. Now, there's a Devil Rays, obviously, in their division, who are currently leading. You got the Padres, you got the Dodgers, you got the St. Louis Cardinals, who are coming up as of late. You got the New York Mets. And yes, I like the Mets, but the way I see it right now, I gotta go with the Red Sox over them. I mean, good parity right now in the league, which you like to see. And you can't count the Dodgers, though, as well, although they've been slimming as of late. But there's that. Lastly, I want to talk about this. So, the fights, they happened on Saturday night, UFC Vegas 27. Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt was the main event. Cody Garbrandt lost a unanimous decision. He's 1-4 in his last 5 fights. It's really weird. Cody Garbrandt, how he was the UFC champion against Dominic Cruz, and now is very strange. But he's so young, only 29. He can go back. He needs some more work in the gym. He needs help. He needs a better team, I think. But good for Rob Font, a veteran. He's a very stealthy striker. So, good for him. But it's kind of short, guys. Sorry about that, but my toilet or my bathroom is making weird noises, so I gotta check that out. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast today. If you're new to the podcast, like and subscribe. Thank you um, for this episode today. No AEW review on Thursday. It'll be, well, AEW is on Friday, so I'll do an AEW Dynamite review on Saturday, as well as Double or Nothing review on Monday. So a little tight next week, but 2 straight episodes of the podcast next week. So good. So thank you. Be safe. Peace. Be safe.